Hey guys, DM Scotty, DM Crafty here. Today we're going to make large trees, and you can make a whole forest of these. So I recommend that when you do this craft, you do 6 or 7 of them. That way you're set, and you never really have to go back and do it again. You have them, you have what you need for any games. There are a couple of features that are really unique to this craft. It could be scaled down. I have done trees similar to this. But this is kind of a different way to do it. The great thing about it is, though, that trees, I feel, can really obscure gameplay. They're a tricky element in the game because they can be really neat looking, but they can really obscure your gameplay. Now, if you do the 2.5D trees, you don't have any kind of problem with that. But I really like to do the more 3D type trees. But the big problem, like I said, is that they obscure gameplay. Well, these trees, I try to avoid doing that with these giant trees. So let's go to the table and you'll see what I'm talking about. Hey guys, we're back to some of my most favoritist crafting material. A paper towel roll. Okay. So this is going to be the basis of our giant trees. So now, if I just leave it this way, it's going to look like a pillar. It's not going to look like a tree. So what I want to do is kind of crush it up. I'll just smash it. All right. There we go. That's it. Okay. So we got an interesting, much more interesting shape there. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to kind of, to give it strength, I'm going to use some TP, and I'm going to wet it. Okay, grab a wad of it, wet it, my water, squeeze most of the water out, and then I will take my white glue, and I'm going to, it's kind of long here, see if I can insert it in the end there, and then I can shove that toilet paper in there. Okay, this will help. What this will do is this will help kind of give it strength. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that out with the toilet paper, or the wet toilet paper. Now I'm going to do the top too, so I'll go ahead and finish that up, and then we'll come back and move to the next step. All right, I'm satisfied with those ends, and when that dries, that'll give me some strength to this structure. So now I want to add the skin to this tree. So what I'm going to do is, but I want to cover the top, because the thing that I'm going to do with this tree is I want it to be a giant tree, but I don't want to make the whole canopy. We're just going to simulate the trunk of the tree and not make all the way up to the canopy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of paper towel, and I'm going to wet that sucker nice and wet. So now what I want to do is I want to cover the top of this tree with the paper towel. Okay, so get that all out there. So now I'm going to kind of get some glue on there. As you can see, this can be a bit messy. Okay, but it's well worth it. Okay, so now I'll just kind of pull that down. All right, and I can even put some glue on there. Rub it in, and that'll help secure that to the tree, or to the paper towel roll. All right, now we'll move on. So I want to fill out the rest of the tree like I did the top. So what I'll do is I'll grab another paper towel, get it wet. So to have kind of a nice adhesion to the paper towel roll, I'm going to kind of saturate this paper towel roll with some glue. Alright, nice and saturated. So now I'll take my tree, get it to the bottom there, and then kind of roll it up like a cigar. Alright, then kind of squish it, not hard, but just squish it to get it the nice adhesion to the tree. And so we got a lot of really nice texture already built right into that. Isn't that fantastic? All right, so now I'm going to cover it with some more glue. So you want to get it nice and saturated, and just kind of rub it over the surface. And I usually do this a couple times. That gives it a nice hard shell. Okay, so now it can be kind of tricky because if you're setting this down, you don't get glue to the surface you're setting it on. So what I like to do is I like to use something like this that has just some edges, and you can put it like that, and you're not going to stick as much to, you know, say if you put it on a table or something, or a piece of cardboard. So this is a nice trick. So now what we have to do is put this away. I would let it dry for at least a couple days. It's pretty wet. What I would do is, like, the following day, add some more glue to it, and it'll still seem not quite solid, but give it a few days and it'll firm up quite a bit. All right, so now we'll go on to the next step. All right, guys, so here's my tree trunk, and it's all dry. See, it's nice and hard. No jokes, please. Okay, so now I need to secure it so I can move to the next step. So what I'm going to do is just use a piece of junk cardboard. I'm not using this for the base. I'm just going to secure it to this. So I will put some glue, put a good amount of hot glue on there, and stick it to the base here. All right. So now I'm just going to let that sit for a minute, and then we'll move to the next step. So here we go. It's nice and firm. Okay. So it's stuck to the base, and the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to add some more detail to the bottom here. Okay. And it can be a bit messy, so it's probably easier to do it on the junk cardboard than it would be to try to do it on the base. I would also do multiple of these at the same time. So of course I'm just making one for demonstration, but if you're going to make a bunch, I would make them all at the same time. Okay, so to move on, we're going to use our ubiquitous toilet paper, and gonna get it wet in our water. This is just water. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start gluing the side here, okay? And I'm going to start putting on the toilet paper on the side there, okay? And I'm going to keep going around, so I grab another one. Get it wet, squeeze out most of the water. My glue on there. And then secure that. So now I'm going to keep going around and putting these on the base. And these will be used, they'll look like the tree is branching out at the bottom for the root system. So it gives a really nice look to the tree. You can see that that's starting to shape up right there. So now I'll just continue around the tree, and then we'll come back. Also, when you're doing these, make sure after you glue them on there, the tree like that, put the glue underneath them. Put some glue on top of them too, and then rub it in like we normally do. Okay, that'll make it nice and hard and blend right in with the tree. So there we go. I'll keep going around the base here and finish this up, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so my tree is all dried, and there, can you look at it there? Okay, so now I want to take it off this base. Okay, I just use this to build this tree. I'm not going to keep it on this base. All right. So what I'm going to do is just rip it off. So just start bending the cardboard away from the tree base, like that. And there you go. You got the tree off, and it's all ready to go. Now I did that because it's going to be easier for the next step, which is the detailing step. So we'll move on to that. I want to add some branches to my tree now, so it's just kind of a plain trunk right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these sticks. Now these sticks are tapered, all right? So maybe look at that. See, they're they're pointed on that end and they're wider at that end, all right? I'll take 3 of these. That one's kind of broken, so I'll get another one. All right, so I'm gonna use 3, all right? So what I'll do is I will take my punch and just kind of rip up the trunk there, punch right into the trunk. Now I'm gonna hit it with hot glue, all right? And then I will take this branch and do it this way, all right? Now, the branch I'm doing flat, kind of, see how I did that? All right. That way I could build up some texture on. I'll show you that in a minute, okay? So I'll put the rest of these branches in and I'll move on to the next step. Now, as you can see from my tree trunk, I had that coming out at various distances from the tree trunk, okay? So now what I want to do is I'm going to build texture on this, all right? So I'll take my hot glue gun and see this branch here, I'm going to start building up some texture on it. Now I want to do the top too. Now I don't want to do the tip because I'm going to apply some more branch to that and they're going to include leaves on the branch. So I don't want to cover up the tip. Alright, but I'm trying to get some dimension to that branch, and you can let that cool for a few minutes and then build up some more. Usually it's a good idea to do a couple of passes on those branches. So now that I've got that, I'll do the rest of the branches. What I'm going to start doing is pulling the glue gun down on the trunk. Now the smaller glue gun works better for this. It's easier to get this kind of detail into the trunk. So this does 2 things. It gives it a really nice detail as far as the bark on these trees, and it also gives it a lot of strength. So these are really some nice trees, all right? And so I'm just going to continue that. Like I said, I'll build up the branches and the bark on the tree, and then we'll come back for the next step. Alright guys, so I've applied all the texture to the tree, and I'll give you kind of a close-up there. So see that, see how nice that looks. And then take a close look at the branch. See, I built out some bulk on the branch with that glue gun. So it's not, doesn't look just like a straight stick. So that's a nice little technique. And you can see that I only put really 3 branches on this because the goal of these trees is to just give kind of the illusion that it is, you know, a large forest and not obstruct play, okay? So there we go, there's the tree. Now we'll move on to the next step. So here I've made a base for the tree, and it's just a thin cardboard. It's actually from a FedEx box. Okay, so I cut it rather large because when you do the tree like this, you want to give the base enough room because there's going to be, the branches are going to kind of be coming off of this. Okay, and I don't want it to tip over. So I want to give the base, I want to make the base big enough so that it won't be a problem. Okay, so before I attach the tree, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my large glue gun, and I'm going to kind of fill in the base with just some texture. So I'll just do the glue gun on the base. So I'll just keep doing this, and then I'll fill in the base, and then we'll move on to the next step. This just gives it, so it's not just a flat texture, it gives it a little bit of variation in the texture itself. It's not just a flat base. The base may want to bend a little bit, so you can always bend it a little bit back into shape. If it does, these larger bases can do this when you apply the hot glue. So just bend it a little bit back into shape and get it flat, okay? So now we're going to apply the tree, all right? So I'll grab the tree trunk, and I'm going to apply a generous helping of hot glue. And then we'll attach it to the base. All right, we can let that dry for a minute. All right, or harden up for a minute. So now what you can do is you can kind of fill this in. Just take the glue, go around the edge, kind of pull it, and just work your way around, blend it into the base. And then we'll move into the next step, which is a little bit of detailing. All right, so one of the detailing techniques I'm going to do is, you've seen me do before, I'm going to use the white glue and just start making some. This is a little wobbly because this tray I'm using has relief, so okay, it's not the base itself. All right, so I'll just kind of make some piles around the base, and this will give some nice texture also to the base. All right, and now it's just a simple matter of taking my construction sand, which I've talked about before. If there's anything that I use that you are not familiar with as far as crafting materials, you can always watch my materials video, and it will show you exactly the materials I use. Okay, so I'm going to take a cup of construction sand and just pour it over these piles of PVA glue. So now I'll just let this dry, and then I'll move on to the next step. So you guys know how I love using my plastic plants, and here I just have a flower with these little branches things on them, and I've used these before in other crafts, and these are really cheap. I got a whole big stem of this for $1.50 at like a big box store. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to have a few little branches coming off of my large tree. So what I'm going to do is just take my regular scissors and just trim this up a bit. So I'll just maybe take that piece, and then I cut that little excess off there, cut that off there, and then cut the big ball off there. Okay, so now I've got a few little branches that I could stick on my tree. All right. So here's my tree, and you can see that the base flocking on there has dried, and I've got the tree I've got some build-up branches here on the trunk. So I want to add a few of these little other branches to the tree itself. So I'm just to give some interest. So I'm going to take this little punch and just punch a little bit in there. Pretty easy to do. Then I'll take my hot glue gun. I'm going to use my small one. Put a dab on there, and then just punch one of those into that. All right, so I got that. So now I'll just do it around the rest of the tree. Looks like an empty area, so I'll just punch in there. Put a dab of hot glue. Push it into the hole. There we go. Like that. And I'll do the last one. I think the top here. So we'll do this. Push the hole. Put that in there. All right, so there we go. So now we have a few little branches on there. Now you see I've got these partial branches built up, and I'll show how I do those later because I'm going to spray paint this, and I don't want to paint the branches I have some branches with leaves I'm going to show you, and I don't want to paint those black, so we'll do that step after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare those branches to go on the tree, and I'll paint this black, and then we'll move on to painting the whole thing. So we'll move from there. The next phase of the tree is the branches, okay? So I bought this, it's kind of a vine thing, I guess, at the craft store, and you can see how many pieces of plastic branches it has on it. I think it was about 15 bucks, but as much use as I can get out of this is worth it. And if you go to those certain big box craft stores, you can usually get a 50% or 40% off coupon, so you can get it for about half. So you know, it's not too bad then. Okay, so I've got tons of these on there. So what I need to do is they're just attached. You can just pull them right off, and you see we got that, okay? So I'm gonna leave this on because I want to attach this to the branch of the tree, okay? The limbs that we have poking out of the tree, all right? There is some brown painted on the center there, but it's not very well done. So I may do a little more brown on it. I may paint a little more brown on this before I actually attach it to the tree. So really I've only got 3 branches, so I just need 3 of these. So I'll just grab another couple off here. And I think they're essentially all the same. But but in the molding process they bend different ways and stuff, so they don't necessarily look exactly the same. All right, so we'll do a little painting on those and then we'll move on to the tree itself. So I've got my plastic branch here and I've got some burnt umber. I'm just going to use a brush and just start kind of, you can hold it down and then just kind of go along the branch like that. And paint it. Or you don't even have to do this step. I mean, it is, the center branch is pretty much painted. You wouldn't even really have to do this step if you didn't want to, unless you're just OCD. But it does make a little bit of a difference. Okay. All right, so that's really all there is to it. And then you just do the other side and you'll be done. Now, I was going to kind of do like, since these trees are so large, I was going to kind of do like redwood trees. So I'm going to use a burnt sienna on the tree itself. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that on there right now. So I'll just, while even that's wet, I'll just go ahead and put that. Right on top of that. All right, so that's good. So we'll just finish up those other branches and then they'll be ready to apply to the tree. All right, here we go. My tree, it's all dry, so it looks good. I use the burnt umber to give it a nice even dark brown look, including the base. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of differentiate the base from the tree. So I'm going to use a earth brown, and I'll just get a large brush and load that up, and then just dry brush that on the base there. And then I'm going to continue this, all right, not even clean the brush or anything. I'm just going to use the same brush, and I'm going to use a burnt sienna, and I'm going to, it's kind of a reddish, and I'll just start kind of dry brushing that on. See what that looks like there, and then the base. Okay, so there's definitely a difference in color there. So I'll finish this tree up, and then we'll move to the next step. Another kind of thing you can do to kind of ancient this up a bit is you could use some green. I'm going to use like an olive green and just kind of take a big brush like this and to just stipple it on, and you can kind of stipple it on the base. It's a little bright right now, but it'll dark. This olive will darken up a bit, and you can kind of hit the tree a bit, get some moss on there, that kind of thing. All right. So looking good. Now for the final stage of this, we are going to attach the branches. So we'll fill this tree out. So we'll go to that next. All right, now we're finally to the final stage of the build. And I've got my 3 branches. Now you can put more on this, but I find that 3 is plenty. So it gives the illusion that you know, there's branches coming up and everything. So I'm just going to use my hot glue gun and then take one of these pointy branches, put a little bit of glue on it, and then take the branch and slide it onto that. You could even do a little bit of blending. And that will not only just help with it to blend in the tree, but it also secure it very well to that Okay, so we got one. So now we'll put the others on. And I like to twist them different ways because they are essentially the same branch. So if you twist them different ways, it'll make them look a little different. And like I said, these aren't all perfect anyway. They're all kind of bent and everything, so they don't necessarily all look the same. But it does help give the illusion that they're a little different. Okay. And this last one here. Gotta put this one face up. Put that in. Okay, now we've ended up with some more hot glue on the tree here, and kind of, you know, that doesn't look good against the paint. So what we'll do is we'll let that harden up for just a sec. A little wisp off there. We'll let the tree harden up for a sec, and then we'll just fill it in with some paint. So here we have a nice wood scene set up, and you can see our little characters moving around in here, okay? And these trees are pretty spectacular. Look how big those are compared to the characters. They really looks like a giant tree forest. Okay, so let me give you a little closer look at the tree. You can see we have those leaves, or those branches we got from that vine that we bought at the craft store. I put a little bit of moss on the base. You could do that on the tree too. This is just the stuff you buy from the hobby store. And I think those trees really came out nice. They're really a good alternative to a giant canopy that just covers, you know, everything. I like too that these branches are flexible. So if you're reaching down in here, you're not gonna knock the tree over. The tree base is big enough. If these were sticks and you hit that, you would knock this right over, okay? So that's one thing I like about these kind of flexible plastic branches, that they're just really play friendly, and that's why I kind of shy away from actual tree branches for that reason, because they break off when you store them. These are never going to break off. They just flex. You can put them in the case. I'll show you how I store them. You can put them in the case, and these will not break off. So that's a great side benefit, as well as like the playability of these trees. And this just really gives the illusion of this ancient, gigantic treed forest, without having a huge, like I said, a huge canopy coming off here and totally obscuring the map. That's one problem that you can get with some other trees. Another problem with using like lichen and stuff, it just falls all over the place. This stuff is not going to come off. It gives a really nice effect, but you can still really see what's going on here. You can reach in here and grab everything. So I hope you enjoyed this vid on giant trees, and what I'm going to do is I'll show you how I store these really quickly, and then I'll see you next time on the craft. So here's my storage bin for these trees. I just take the trees, and you can just put them right in here like this, okay? And then lay some the other way. And see how those branches bend? You don't have to worry about those breaking off like you would with another type of tree, with like a hard branch, okay? The only thing that's hard is this very end part. The rest of it is all flexible, all right? Let's get that in there. Okay, so there we go. So now you can just take this, and you're good to go. You got your transport for your trees. You're all set. So yeah, there we go. And I'm just really happy with these trees. They're just lightweight, you know, hard. You're not gonna have to worry about it. Very lightweight, portable. Yeah, I think they just came out great. So I will see you next time on the craft. Hey friends and fellow crafters, I would just like to invite you to make sure you click the like button on my video if you like what you've seen and you find them informative. It really helps my statistics, and as always, I appreciate any likes I get. So keep watching and keep crafting. Hey crafters, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the DM's Craft. Make sure to subscribe, and I have tons of other videos, as you can see. I am the originator of the 2.5D method of crafting tiles. I also do dirt cheap terrain for the table. If all this intrigues you, make sure you check out all the videos below. Also, join my forum. We have lots of great crafters on there who give advice. I have a link above and below. And last but not least, remember, go forth and craft!